My name is Holly Lavoie, and I am the Program Coordinator for South Carolina INBRE. I'm also Director of our Developmental Research Project Program, and I'd like to tell you about our pilot projects that we have for faculty this year. Our pilot projects are one-year awards, and they will span the period of September 1st, 2026 to August 31st, 2027. We have three types of awards for faculty. These include our Launch Pilot Project, our Data Science Core Pilot Project, and our Cures Pilot Project, or courses for undergraduate research experiences for students. Some important dates for you to remember are our Letter of Intent deadline. So you must submit a letter of intent in order to be able to submit a full proposal. It's easy to submit a letter of intent. You go to the South Carolina INBRE website under the funding tab to the specific program you're interested, pilot projects in this case. And using the link on that site, submit a descriptive title and up to 4 sentences describing your project. This is due by Friday, March the 6th, 5 p.m. This lets our staff know that you'll likely be submitting a proposal and also helps us arrange the reviewers for the review process of the proposals. If you have submitted a letter of intent on time, you will be able to submit a full proposal which will be due April 3rd by 5 p.m. No late proposals will be accepted. We have 7 pilot projects available this year. 4 of these are designated for our primarily undergraduate institutions and our South Carolina affiliated network, and 3 of these are reserved for our comprehensive research universities in the state. There are some common elements for all 3 types of faculty pilot projects. The first is that we must have that letter of intent. You can't submit a full proposal unless the letter of intent was submitted on time. The proposal lengths and forms are essentially the same and available on the website. The budget is up to $15,000 for 1 year, and this is direct costs only. There are no indirect costs associated with these awards, and the funds that must be spent by the end of the award year. There's a possibility for a second year of funding through a competitive renewal process. What does that mean? It means you come in with a new proposal and compete with those others that are submitting new proposals as well. Each of these pilot projects requires your university to make sure that you have at least 25% time devoted towards research. Key feature of all South Carolina INBRE funding awards is that they have to train students, specifically undergraduate and graduate students, in research as part of their project. It's South Carolina INBRE's goal to train the next generation of biomedical scientists. New faculty should have mentors to guide them through their project, and we would like our faculty to participate in South Carolina INBRE events after they have funded. We're going to have some mentoring workshops, which will be arranged based on everyone's schedule. We have our annual science symposium, usually in February every year. Would expect participation by our faculty in the South Carolina Annual Science Symposium. After your first year of funding, we would anticipate that you would give an oral presentation at that symposium and that your students would present at that symposium. And we encourage attendance at our career workshop, which is usually held in June every year in Columbia. It's a day-long workshop where we give you a lot of insight about how to apply for grants and other tips related to research. First, I'd like to tell you about our Launch and our Data Science Core pilot projects. There are some key differences between these 2 projects. The Launch Award provides faculty that need to collect preliminary data for a new grant or need to collect key data to address a grant revision for resubmission. Data Science Core project, or DCS, is designed for acquisition and analysis of big data. All of your omics data, where you would collect a large data set, would qualify for this. If you already have a large data set, this could be your own data that you have collected or data that's in an existing database. All South Carolina INBRE projects, regardless of the type, must involve biomedical research, and the topic area is very flexible. Think about what you would submit if you were submitting an NIH grant, the topic areas that they're interested in. And you can do this by reviewing their website or feel free to contact me. My contact information is at the end of this. Biomedical sciences are those topics that could eventually lead to improvement of human health. We have several core facilities affiliated with South Carolina INBRE, and they are listed on our website. One of our core facilities for INBRE 5 is the Data Science Core. If you think you might need help from any of our core facilities, please reach out to them and ask them for assistance. Depending what type of data you'd like to analyze, they might be able to help you plan your experiments. We strongly suggest that if you are going to use one of our core facilities associated with South Carolina INBRE, that you get a letter of support from them to include with your application. It is not required to use one of the core facilities. A third type of pilot project that we have is a little bit different, and it is the CURES, or Course-Based Undergraduate Research Experiences pilot project. The aim of this pilot project is for the PI to develop a new course or restructure an existing course for undergraduates that will allow them to generate data or analyze data for an ongoing research project or a new research project. This is not a traditional lab course. This is meant to generate data for a grant application and or publications. So as part of the CURES, there should be several aspects of student training that are addressed as part of their curriculum. There should be project planning, should be experimental design, getting them to form and test a hypothesis. There should be hands-on data collection. There should be data analysis and interpretation with the guidance of the faculty member, and there should be scientific reporting. This can include written formats, poster or oral presentations. The course can be for 1 or 2 semesters. For individuals that are seeking a CURES pilot project, we'd like them to have a scientific advisor that can help them formulate the course and guide them through the course, preferably someone who has some experience in this area. The best place to learn more about South Carolina INBRE and our funding programs is at the scinbre.org website. On our website, under the funding tab, you'll see DRPP VP for Faculty Pilot Projects. If you click on that, it will take you to the landing page for all of the 3 pilot project programs. It will reiterate the dates and other details of the awards. Once the notice of funding opportunity is announced to the public, all the links will be active and include the letter of intent link and an application form packet and the submission link. There are specific drop-down boxes that you really should read every single one of these, especially the goals and expectations. Eligibility, you want to make sure that you meet the criteria for eligibility for these awards before you apply. One of the eligibility requirements is that the individual is not funded through a COBRA or other IDEA program. There's a drop down for the proposal preparation instructions and details of the required documents. This year, we are giving our faculty the option to either use the existing biographical sketch form for NIH that's included with this application packet, or if you've already mastered the NIH Common Form BioSketch, please feel free to use that because we'll be moving to that next year. Individuals that have applied before but were not funded have the opportunity to resubmit and address prior reviewers' comments. Individuals who have currently or previously been funded for 1 year only can have an opportunity to submit a competitive renewal as long as there are new aims. The specific aims is up to 1 page and the research strategy up to 6 pages. There are sections on vertebrate animals should you have vertebrate animals, and you need to have a section on how you're going to train students, either undergraduate and or graduate students as part of your project. You can also train a postdoctoral fellow as long as you are also training students. You'll need to have a data management plan, and there are some additional elements that you need to include. Please pay attention to the award and reporting requirements, and there's also details of our review process. There are 2 specific topics that I'd like to go over a little bit more. One is human subjects and one is vertebrate animal studies. Human subjects research is not allowed for the pilot projects. Sometimes it takes a long time for human subjects research to be approved by your institution and at the level of NIH, so the work cannot be completed in time. So there is no human subjects research allowed for the pilot projects. However, you may have human samples that are de-identified or human cells that technically do not qualify as human subjects research. And to determine this, there is a link on the website with a worksheet that you can work through to determine if your materials qualify as human subject research or not. It may be best to have your IRB review anything that you're uncertain of to see if they consider it human subjects research or not. Vertebrate animal studies are allowed with an approved protocol. So if you don't have an existing approved protocol, it's strongly suggested that if you plan to involve vertebrate animals in your work, you should submit a protocol for IACUC approval before or at the time you are submitting your application to INBRE for this pilot project. This will give it time to be reviewed. We will need a letter of approval of your animal protocol by July 17, 2026, should you be recommended for funding. This will give us time to include it in the packet that needs to go to NIH for final approval. So what happens to your application when you submit it? There's initial screening by our administrative core for South Carolina INBRE. We check to make sure that a letter of intent has been submitted on time. We're checking to make sure all the elements are there. If you submit your proposal a few days early, we can let you know if there's something missing. Proposals will go out to a panel of scientific experts. These individuals likely will not be experts in your very specific field. So make sure you write your applications for someone knowledgeable, but who might be outside your very specific scientific niche. The reviewers will provide comments and scores, and these are sent back to SC INBRE, and they are compiled and sent to our external advisory committee, and they will do their own review and recommendations of who will be funded. Applicants will be notified of their recommendation for funding by our program director and principal investigator, Dr. Edie Goldsmith. Applications then must be approved by NIH before they release funding. If you have questions about submitting the proposal, especially the details of formatting and just general information, John Clarkson, our South Carolina INBRE business manager, can be very helpful, and here is his email address. If you have other questions or especially would like to know, does my topic fit the criteria, especially of biomedical research, I'd be happy to interact with you. Best way to contact me is through email shown here. I look forward to seeing your proposals.